Now the Ship of Theseus goes as follows. You have a boat and the boat gets damaged over time and you replace parts. And eventually over time you replace every single part in the ship so that none of the original parts remain. It's kind of like those guys who collect vintage cars. Over time they probably have replaced every single part in the car, so it's actually a newer car in some sense. Now it may sound like a hard paradox to solve at first, but that's because in Zeno's time they didn't have quantum mechanics. So using a bit of modern quantum physics, we can easily solve Zeno's paradox. The first thing we have to understand is that the ship is built out of particles, and these particles don't exist and they do exist. They're in superpositions and they only take on a form when we split the universe. Now that might sound a little bit confusing and technical at first, but that's only because you're thinking of it as a non-local wave function. Now all we have to do is collapse the wave function and we have our answer. The ship is the same ship and a different ship at the same time. And remember, time is the fourth dimension. It makes much more sense when we think of time as a dimension of space. So you have your length, then you got your width, and then you got your height, and then you got your time. Now, if that sounds confusing at all to you, just remember that's because you're thinking of it as a local event. This is a non-local event, and if we look at non-local time, it's actually 5 o'clock. So, is it the same ship or is it a different ship? The answer is 5 o'clock. Alright, now let's actually solve the Ship of Theseus. Theseus, I can't remember. Alright, so the problem arises because we're giving this word ship multiple different concepts, alright? So, if the word ship means 10 different things, then you can't answer whether it's a new ship or not. But once we say if the ship means one thing, then it becomes very easy, okay? So let's look at the first concept. The first concept is the matter by which the ship is built out of. Alright, so if we define the ship by the matter by which it's built out of, well, it's all new matter, right? We've replaced all the original matter, so now it's a new ship. Bada bing, bada boom, solved, right? Now, if we define the ship by its function, then it's the same ship. Alright, so what do I mean by function? Well, it's this thing that people use to perform a certain task. So there's these certain sailors who own this ship, and they have this ship sitting in this position of water, and they use it to travel from there to there, right? It has this very specific function, right? And if you define the ship by the function, then it's obviously the same ship. It still performs the same function. Okay, so now the problem and where the paradox arises is simply the fact that they're trying to define the ship by both of these independent characteristics. So as soon as the person says, well look, it's a new ship because it's all new material, then they say, no, it's the same old ship because it performs the same functions to the sailors. And then when they say, no, it's the same old ship because it performs the same functions to the sailors, then they point to the material and say, hey look, it's a new ship because it's all new material. Again, you're using two different definitions to define one thing. You can't do that, right? So a similar analogy would be, is food hot or cold? Well, it's a very silly question, right? Because it depends entirely on the food, right? Some food is hot, some food is cold. You know, different types of food are independent of each other, right? And in this case, the ship's ability to perform its function is also independent of the material by which it's made out of. Does that make perfect sense? What do you think? Put your comments below. Does that solve the Ship of Theseus perfectly? I think it does. If you like this video, share it, subscribe, give it a thumbs up or whatever. And I'm gonna probably make a few more videos before I start taking some video requests. But if you make a video request, I'll put it on queue for now.